Your tenant finds your number, calls you about being late with the rent, and pleads for an extension. You tell him you need to check with your wife. Your wife says a week is fine. You tell the property manager. Now, 3 weeks later, the tenant is under eviction and the judge wants you in court, but you live 2,000 miles away. The tenant is saying you and he made an agreement and he was told he could pay the rent next month, but you claim it was only a week extension. My name is Harry Heist, and I'm the founding partner of Heist, Weiss & Wolk, the property manager's partner. Since 1989, we have done nothing but work for investors, landlords, property managers, and apartment managers. Not only am I an attorney, but I'm also an investor like you, a landlord, and I have 4 different property management companies handling my rentals, which are scattered about Florida. You have made a wise choice, wise decision in having a professional property manager handle your rental. And this informative video is for you. Tenants sometimes go behind the property manager's back. They find your number and they call. They find your address and they write, or they potentially email you. That innocent conversation that you have with your tenant can be twisted like you cannot believe. You then become a witness in any litigation or dispute that could potentially end up in court. Why did that happen? Well, you had contact with the tenant. What are some of the scenarios that we see? A tenant might call you asking if he can buy the place. You say, well, that might work out if you can agree upon a price. Then, without your knowledge, the tenant begins doing work on the property, making renovations, making improvements, spending their own money. The tenant has this expectation now that they're going to buy the place. But the tenant probably has no money and maybe never will. Now they want to buy the place, but you decided to sell it to someone else in a cash fast deal. All these repairs and money spent by the tenant are now thrown in your face, and they want to be reimbursed. So what do? They stop paying rent. Another scenario. You happen to be nearby your property and decide to pop by the rental. Wouldn't you know? The tenants are out front on the grass, so you stop by and chat. Well, a few things can happen. You stop the car, start talking, you hit it off with them, and everything looks good. Tenant even invites you in. You look around, everything looks great. You're really happy. Or this could happen. You're looking around and you're angry about the condition of the home and an argument ensues. Let's say that you're talking to the tenant and the tenant's asking if you'd be willing to change the carpeting or replace the stove. You're thinking, well, I want to keep the tenants happy, so you say, well, yeah, you might consider a new stove or carpet change. These words can be interpreted as you will be doing this, but the next day you give it some thought and you really don't want to upgrade the carpet. The stove really is fine. It doesn't really need to be replaced. But now the tenant's withholding rent. Now the tenant is suing you because no new carpet was put in and no new stove was put in. You changed your mind, but you told the tenant something else. Now the tenant tells the property manager what you said and doesn't want to pay the rent. Another scenario. The lease is almost up. The tenant may ask you if they could stay another year. You're thinking, well, that sounds great, so you say yes. But then a week later, you change your mind. You've decided you're going to sell the property or move in. The tenant now has an expectation that they have another year, claiming a verbal 1-year lease. Verbal 1-year leases are actually enforceable in many states. So what you said created a verbal binding contract. No matter what transpires, when things go wrong, you may have to be in court if you spoke or communicated with the tenant. The judge might not allow you to appear by phone. The judge may want you in that courtroom, and they often will. It becomes a huge mess. I've lost cases due to he said, she said situations where the owner communicated with the tenant. Look at it this way. You hired a professional property manager and they're managing the property for you. Let them do their job and avoid any tenant contact. This protects you more than you could imagine. Your action items, understand fully how your words can be twisted around. If you receive a letter, email, or call from the tenant, refer them right back to the property manager. Use the property manager as the shield between you and the tenant. Don't communicate with your tenant. If you want to check your property, sure, go ahead, do a drive-by. But if you want to go inside, do it with the property manager present and an appointment made. Your property manager is not trying to hide anything from you. Your property manager is trying to protect you. They have seen the results of owner involvement, owner contact, and so have I. We've seen owners have to fly great distances to come to court on short notice and at great expense. Even if you don't have to come to court, we've seen major complications because of the owner-tenant communication problem. It's not worth it. This is one of these completely avoidable problems, and it's all in your hands. If the tenant tries to contact you, immediately call your property manager. The property manager is your filter, your protector, your asset manager, and is looking out for your best interests.